There's a comfortable lie that many people repeat without realizing it, that being discreet is the same as being weak, and that's where most lose power without even noticing. Machiavelli already warned that in a world governed by politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, those who confuse humility with effacement end up being used, ignored, or discarded. The curious thing is that the most powerful rarely seem desperate to prove anything. They don't shout, they don't flaunt everything, they don't beg for respect. They understand that the end justifies the means when the means is controlling perception before the world decides for you. Perhaps you've experienced this. You work hard, deliver results, but feel overtaken by someone who seems more relevant. It's not a lack of merit, it's a lack of signaling. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean being aggressive. It means not being underestimated. The appearance of virtue, when well used, protects. Virtù and fortuna meet when you learn to appear humble without ever appearing small. And that changes everything: negotiations, respect, opportunities, and even how people talk about you when you're not in the room. In this video, the premise is simple and unsettling, to show how appearing humble, even when powerful, is a strategy, not a personality trait. You'll understand how to use calculated force silently, how to avoid being hated without relinquishing authority, and why decisions based on real human nature always put you one step ahead. If this makes sense, get ready, because the way you present yourself to the world will never be the same again. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul. An invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder you are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He often begins by saying something that many people resist accepting. Power rarely arises from stark truth. It arises from perception. Machiavelli already observed that the world reacts more to what seems real than to what is real, because most human decisions happen on impulse, not through cold analysis. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, means understanding that people follow signs, symbols, and narratives. That's why two individuals with the same ability receive completely different treatment. One is listened to, the other is ignored. What changes? The way they are perceived. The end justifies the means when the means is to build an image that communicates authority without needing to explain anything. It's better to be feared than loved, not in the sense of aggression, but of controlled predictability. Those who seem solid don't need to ask for space. And curiously, those who understand this soon avoid being hated because they learn to act with strategic coldness, not with wounded ego. Perception then becomes the currency with which power is exchanged every day. He likes to use a simple, almost banal example. Imagine two people entering a meeting. One speaks softly, over-explains, apologizes for existing. The other speaks little, listens more than responds, and doesn't justify themselves. Even if both know the same thing, the room reacts differently. Decisions based on real human nature show that the brain associates silence with security and excessive talking with insecurity. The appearance of virtue here is not falsehood, it's reading the environment. Virtù and fortuna come into play when someone understands when to show themselves and when to restrain themselves. Calculated use of force in this case is emotional. Knowing when not to react is already a demonstration of mastery. Those who build perception don't chase approval. They create a gravitational field. And, little by little, they come to be followed not for what they say, but for what they represent. In practice, he advises something simple but rarely applied. Observe how you present yourself before trying to convince someone. Perception begins before speech. Posture, rhythm, word choice, even the timing of silence communicate power or fragility. In the modern world, your own loyal armies are your routines, your image, and your daily consistency. If a person changes their discourse in every situation, they convey instability. Constant adaptability is not incoherence, it's a strategic reading of the scenario. He often jokes, "Those who try to prove too much end up proving the opposite." Perception cannot be forced, it is built. And when someone understands this, they begin to notice that the next level is not about convincing, but about appearing naturally valuable. Something that deepens when one understands why appearance comes before explanation. He usually warns right from the start, appearance is not vanity, it's silent language. Before any word is spoken, the human mind has already decided how it will treat you. Machiavelli understood this deeply when speaking of the appearance of virtue, not as deception, but as a visual translation of value. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that the world reacts to what it sees first. An individual may be brilliant, but if they appear disorganized, cheap, or hesitant, they will be seen as disposable. Better to be feared than loved, in this context means being respected before being understood. The end justifies the means when the means is adjusting external signals to protect what has been built internally. Avoiding being hated, curiously, involves not appearing too fragile. The right appearance creates an invisible layer of protection. He likes to use everyday examples. Think of two stores selling the same product. One has poor lighting, a cluttered window display, and an insecure salesperson. The other is clean, organized, and exudes calm. The price may even be the same, but perception changes everything. Visible signs of value determine how you are treated because the brain seeks shortcuts. Virtu and fortuna appear when someone understands that they don't need to show off, only to appear solid. Calculated use of force here is visual, simple but well-tailored clothes, direct speech, carefully chosen environments. Nothing exaggerated, nothing lacking. Your own loyal armies are these details repeated daily. They work for you while you remain silent. Appearance, when well adjusted, saves explanations. In practice, it suggests clear actions. It's not about spending more, it's about choosing better. A discreet watch, neutral and well-maintained clothes, an organized digital profile, photos consistent with the message you want to convey. Decisions based on real human nature show that consistency generates authority. Constant adaptability comes into play when you adjust your appearance to the environment without losing your identity. Someone who looks expensive commands respect because they signal self-control. Someone who looks improvised invites exploration. And it's curious to see how, by adjusting your appearance, conversations change, invitations appear, and opportunities expand. But all this gains even more strength when you understand why money, more than a resource, functions as a psychological signal. He often shatters a common belief right away. Money isn't about what it buys, but about what it communicates. Machiavelli already understood that symbols move people more than facts. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that money functions as a mental shortcut to competence, access, and influence. Two people can have the same bank balance, but the one who knows how to signal value is treated completely differently. The end justifies the means when the means is using money as a psychological tool, not as an emotional crutch. Better to be feared than loved here means not appearing dependent or in need of approval. Those who seem financially stable don't need to convince anyone of anything. Perception does the silent work. He likes to say that invisible wealth is personal comfort, but visible wealth is social power. It's not about flaunting expensive cars or flashy watches, but about choosing where the money appears. A good professional address, an organized environment, well-managed free time, decisions made without haste. Virtù and fortuna meet when someone uses money to buy calm, not noise. Calculated use of force is knowing when to show stability and when to remain discreet. Having one's own loyal armies, in this case, are investments that generate predictability. For example, having a solid reserve, avoiding unnecessary debt, and maintaining a consistent standard of living. All of this communicates dominance, not scarcity. In practice, it suggests something simple. Stop using money solely for immediate consumption and start using it as a strategic signal. This might mean investing in practical knowledge, such as books that teach long-term thinking. For example, Think and Grow Rich or The Prince. It might mean choosing a few quality goods instead of many disposable ones. Decisions based on real human nature show that those who appear financially organized gain more negotiating leverage. Constant adaptability comes into play when you adjust your pattern without appearing unstable. When money starts working as a signal, it changes the game and opens up space to understand why display needs to be controlled, not impulsive. He often warns with a half smile, showing everything is as dangerous as showing nothing. Machiavelli understood that true power lies in controlling information. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that those who show too much lose mystery, and those who hide too much lose relevance. The end justifies the means when the means is selective revelation. Better to be feared than loved here means being respected for unpredictability, not for excess. The appearance of virtue acts as a filter, showing enough to be taken seriously, never so much as to become a spectacle. Avoiding being hated involves not provoking gratuitous envy. Virtù and fortuna align when someone masters the rhythm of what they reveal and what they keep hidden. He likes to use social media as an example. Those who post every achievement seem eager for validation. Those who never post anything seem non-existent. Calculated use of force means choosing key moments. A successful project shown once with restraint is worth more than 100 empty updates. In this scenario, having your own loyal armies represents reputation and consistency. Decisions based on real human nature show that people respect those who control access. Constant adaptability appears when you adjust the level of exposure according to the environment, discreet among the curious, firm among decision-makers. Controlled display communicates both emotional and strategic dominance. In practice, he suggests simple rules. Never show the effort, only the result. Never over-explain your victories. Never turn stability into ostentation. This applies to money, relationships, and career. A clear example. Instead of announcing plans, execute them silently and present the accomplished fact. The end justifies the means when the means is to preserve symbolic power. It's better to be feared than loved because well-used silence generates automatic respect. When someone learns to display with surgical precision, they realize that less is more and begin to understand why appearing scarce in one's image has consequences that few are prepared to pay. He tends to be direct here, almost uncomfortable. Appearing cheap comes at a high price. Machiavelli already warned that perceived weakness invites attack, even when there is no conscious intention. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that the world tests limits all the time. When someone signals scarcity, whether emotional, financial, or symbolic, they become a natural target for exploitation. The end justifies the means when the means is to protect one's own image so as not to become a bargaining chip. Better to be feared than loved, in this sense, means not appearing too available. Avoiding being hated is not about diminishing oneself. It's about not putting oneself in a vulnerable position. A poorly calibrated appearance of virtue becomes disguised submission. He gives simple, everyday examples. The professional who charges too little is disrespected. The always available friend is the first to be discarded. The entrepreneur who presents himself as almost bankrupt scares away opportunities. Decisions based on real human nature show that excessive humility doesn't generate respect, it generates abuse. Virtù and fortuna come into play when someone understands that value needs to be signaled, not explained. Calculated use of force here means saying less, "I'm trying," and more, "This is what I do." Having your own loyal armies means clear boundaries, fair prices, and a firm stance. Whoever seems scarce loses negotiating power before the conversation even begins. In practice, it guides immediate corrections. Adjust your discourse. Stop diminishing yourself before someone else does it for you. Adjust your presence. Environments, clothing, and even schedules communicate scarcity or control. Adjust your decisions. Accept less. Choose more. Constant adaptability is not about accepting crumbs. It's about strategically repositioning yourself. The end justifies the means when the means is to emerge from invisibility without becoming arrogant. It's better to be feared than loved because respect is born from limits. When someone abandons a poor image, they realize something curious. Doors don't open out of pity, but out of authority. And this connects directly to the survival of authority in difficult times. He often says that it is in crises that true power is revealed or disappears. Machiavelli observed that authority is not built only in times of prosperity, but is preserved in difficult times. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, teaches that whoever loses composure loses command, even if they are right. The end justifies the means when the means is to protect one's own image while everything around seems unstable. Better to be feared than loved here means not panicking in public. Avoiding being hated involves not transferring the emotional weight of crises to those who observe. The appearance of virtue in this scenario is visible serenity. Whoever maintains a firm posture during the storm communicates leadership without speeches. He gives a recurring example. Two leaders face the same financial crisis. One complains, over-explains, and asks for understanding. The other adjusts the pace, cuts excesses quietly, and sticks to the agenda. Decisions based on real human nature show that people follow whoever seems in control, not whoever seems right. Virtù and fortuna intersect when someone transforms difficulty into a test of maturity. Calculated use of force is choosing what to reveal and what to protect. At that moment, having one's own loyal armies is reserves, reputation, and well-chosen alliances. Whoever enters a crisis publicly loses authority before losing resources. In practice, he advises a simple rule: never compromise your image to alleviate the pain of the moment. Adjust costs, change strategies, retreat if necessary, but preserve the perception of stability. Constant adaptability means changing internally while maintaining a firm, external image. The end justifies the means when the means is surviving with symbolic dignity. It's better to be feared than loved because respect sustains bridges when chaos destroys paths. Those who understand this realize that rising or falling rarely depends solely on technical skill. Perception decides who continues to be heard when things get tough and who becomes invisible without understanding why. Now the inevitable question remains: how many times have you lost ground, respect, or opportunities not due to a lack of ability, but because you failed to control your perception? Machiavelli didn't speak of power as vanity, but as survival. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, demands that you apply this knowledge in everyday life, not just admire the theory. Where are you appearing too small? Where are you being humble when in fact you should be being strategic? The end justifies the means when the means is to stop sabotaging your own image. Observe your posture, your speech, your visible choices. Are you signaling scarcity or control? Are you facilitating exploitation or imposing silent respect? It's better to be feared than loved, not because fear drives people away, but because respect protects. The appearance of virtue is not a lie. It's applied social intelligence. Virtue and fortune favor those who act consciously, not those who expect spontaneous recognition. The calculated use of force begins with small decisions, repeated every day, until they become part of your identity. If any of this bothered you, great. It means you touched on a real point. Now, what are you going to change starting today so you won't be underestimated tomorrow? What signals do you need to adjust now before the world adjusts for you? If this type of strategic analysis helps you see reality more clearly, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you learn to play the game as it's played, not as they said it should be played.